YUGI tip, the mighty Appointer of the Red Lotus. Certain cards you kind of have to explain how to use it in order for people to understand it, because sometimes somebody will look at a card, read the effect, read the cost if there's a cost, and just by that they'll judge it. They'll be like, oh no, this card's no good, and they'll keep it moving instead of actually giving it a try. Like every card you should try, especially if you have it for free. You know what I mean? It's one thing if you don't have the card and you have to buy the card, then you're like, yeah, I'm not interested. It doesn't sound good, so I'm not gonna buy it. The thing is, you can proxy. You can get 3 pieces of paper, write down the name of the card, write down that it's a trap, write down its effect, the cost, and all that stuff. Right? Sleeve it, test it out. Test it out. Like really test it out. Try to figure out how to make it work. And if no matter what you do, it doesn't work, then yeah, it doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work, or it doesn't work for you. It doesn't work in your deck, or it just doesn't work in general. That's understandable. But we also have Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Dueling Book. We have ways to try out cards, to test out cards. So use them, test out the cards, and then go from there. But some people tend to not want to try something out. They just want to be a naysayer. They want to be a negative Nancy. They want to say something is bad just because they feel they know everything when they don't know everything. So then in that regards, you have to take into account that, okay, Appointer Red Lotus has a cost of 2,000 life points. So there's Warning, Solemn Judgment, has a pay half your life points type cost. So there's cards that have pretty hefty costs, but they're useful to use regardless. It's because what they can do that matters more than the cost. That's why some people still use Solemn Judgment and Warning, because the life points is worth it as long as they get an advantage. And how they use the card is how they get the advantage. Because a lot of people will be like, oh, Solemn Strike is a good card. Yeah, but you could pay 1,500 to negate a summon, and then it was pointless, and you end up losing anyway. The card is good, yeah, but you used it wrong, so that's why you lost. It didn't work out great for you. So you got to know how to use a card in order to get the most out of it. It's not just enough to look at the card and be like, oh, it has a cost, and its effect is decent, but it has a hefty cost, and that's a reason not to play it. Makes no sense. It's how you play it that makes it powerful. That makes it where that cost is worth. There's a reason why it costs 2,000 to play Appointer of the Red Lotus, just like it costs 2,000 to play Warning or pay half your life points to play Solemn Judgment. Why? Because they have powerful effects. They have effects that are pretty rare. It's how you use it that determines how effective it is. You can have a good card, and if you don't use it right, you can fail. You can lose regardless if you had a good card or not. A card is good based off of how you use it. It's not good or bad based off of an opinion or based off of the way it looks. Like if it looks good or if it looks bad. No, try it. Cards that look bad are great. There's a lot of cards people say are terrible but were great. There's people say Vanny's Emptiness was terrible when it first came out. And then later on people realize, oh my god, it's actually great if you know how to use it right. And people start using it right. Same thing for Appointer Red Lotus. You got to know how to use it right. If you go first and you have Appointer Red Lotus, you only need 1 or 2 cards to start off your combo anyway, your turn, right? Especially in Link format, you're going to use like maybe Gofu first turn and just swarm the field with Firewall Dragons, right? Set your back row. Opponent draws. Appointer Red Lotus. Get rid of a useful card in the hand, especially if it's a card that would have broke your board. Maybe like a Dark Hole or something. Get rid of that for 2 turns, right? And then you still have the rest of your back row. You still have your Firewall Dragon. You still have your board to deal with the rest of their hand. At least now you know what's in their hand. You got rid of something that could have potentially broken your board. And now, next turn, you'll attack them with all your Firewall Dragons, Proxy Dragons, and whatnot, and OTK and win. So the card can't be bad if you use it right. It's only bad if you don't use it right, if you don't know what you're doing. So, obviously the pro tip for that, the tip for using Appointer Red Lotus is that you want to use it definitely early game when you go first. Even if you go second, third, I mean, you go second in the game, and then let's say third turn, fourth turn, fifth turn, depending on how long the duel lasts. If you can stall long enough, it's still a useful card late game because you might establish a board. You end your turn, your opponent draws, you play opponent Red Lotus, and you get rid of that card they just drew, which would have potentially probably gave them the ability to come back into the game. It could have been a Dark Hole, it could have been a Soul Charge, it could have been a Mirror Force, a Quaking Mirror Force, it could have been anything. You know what I mean? And sometimes taking away one card from your opponent can make a big difference of them beating you or you beating them. And that's my Yugi tip.